parties want to win. And if a party doesn't win, it doesn't have shit.
We've got this massive evil villain right in front of us, and we still continue to treat them with kid gloves.
Welcome to Political Experts React, where we break down political ads in media, explain what the people behind them are trying to accomplish, and decide whether or not they did a good job. I'm Dan Pfeiffer, former communications director for President Barack Obama. Today we're going to watch some winning ads and videos that all Democratic strategists and candidates should study. Our first guest is Democratic strategist Paul Begala.
You want to talk about forgotten places? I spent the last 20 years living in a community that was written off. There's a lot of great towns in Pennsylvania that feel like their community's best days were a generation ago or more. These kind of people deserve to participate in the American dream. They want somebody that's going to tell it to them the way it is. Pennsylvania is a beautiful and complex and diverse state, from Philadelphia to a county of 5,000 like Cameron. It's not rural versus urban, it's rural and urban. Every county matters here in Pennsylvania, and we can't leave anyone behind. We can't leave anyone out of the conversation. For the last 20 years, this is where I've been, fighting for the same places, the people and principles. It hasn't changed, and that's why I'm running for the U.S. Senate. I'm not willing to write off any region, any county, any part of Pennsylvania. I'm John Fetterman, and I approve this message.
Now, Paul, you are famously a Texan. You helped elect an Arkansan to the White House twice. But what many people don't know about you is that you have been deeply involved in Pennsylvania politics for a very long time. So I wanted to get your take on this ad.
That's a terrific ad. Again, here's like a really difficult thing to do for whoever made this ad. I don't know who his consultants are. John Fetterman, a very distinctive looking guy whose visage is a big part of his persona, does not appear until second 42. 42 seconds into a 60-second ad. We don't see John Fetterman. Why? He wants to make it about you, not me. But the fact that he is saying that he cares about those places is, I think, the message to Democratic primary voters, which is, I can win. You know, parties want to win. If a party doesn't win, it doesn't have shit. I like that the opening shot is a church. I think this is like when Bush was my governor in Texas. He studied Spanish, to which I used to say to him, you're only taking Spanish, governor, so you could be ignorant. But he also would go to black churches. Why? He didn't do very well with black and Latino voters, but it told suburbanites, you can be for this guy. He's not a racist. And I think it's equal and opposite with Fetterman. I think Fetterman's saying, you can be for this guy, and he's not going to get blown out in the T, which Carville famously described the area between Philadelphia and Pittsburgh as Alabama without the black people. So I think it's very, very savvy ad, very smart.
Yeah, I very much agree. You know, Democrats have to find a way to reach out to working class voters, and I define that writ large. Rural white voters, urban black voters, urban Latino voters, rural black voters all across this country, building on the idea that voters, for all of the distrust of the system they have, some of the disillusionment they've had with our party, still hold on to the idea that we are the ones more likely to fight for them. Republicans are more likely to fight for corporations. And so this is sort of, I think, by showing this little bio story is the foundation to which you might be able to make that argument in a general election. You can believe me because I am one of you. I will fight for you.
This is the greatest problem the Democrats have. In the last 20, 25 years, they have morphed into becoming the party of the faculty lounge, not the factory floor. If we could just go back to Obama's numbers, the first African-American president did better in rural white areas than Hillary or Joe. We have been doing something to piss these people off and to abandon them. You know, we all focus on the high school educated whites, and I love them. I'm white. I don't know if you can see. I'm so white I get a sunburn from the light bulb in the refrigerator. But the heart and soul of our party is people of color. And when we have alienated 18% of the black and brown and Asian American immigrant native voters that we got for Obama, we're doing something wrong.
Our next guest is Democratic strategist Liz Smith.
Your husband tweeted after Justice Brett Kavanaugh left a Washington restaurant due to protesters. The tweet reads, sounds like he just wanted some privacy to make his own dining decisions. Is that appropriate, sir?
Look, when public officials go into public life, we should expect two things. One, you should always be free from violence, harassment, and intimidation. And two, you're never going to be free from criticism or peaceful protest, people exercising their First Amendment rights. Okay. And that's what happened in this case. Remember, the justice never even came into contact with these protesters, reportedly didn't see or hear them. And these protesters are upset because a right, an important right, that the majority of Americans support was taken away. Understood. Not only the right to choose, by the way, but this justice was part of the process of stripping away the right to privacy. As long as I've been alive, settled case law in the United States has been that the Constitution protected a right to privacy, and that has now been thrown out the window by justices, including Justice Kavanaugh, who, as I recall, swore up and down in front of God and everyone, including the United States Congress, that they were going to leave settled case law alone. So yes, people are upset. They're going to exercise their First Amendment rights. And as long as that's peaceful, that's protected. Compare that, for example, to the reality that as a country, right now, we're reckoning with the fact that a mob summoned by the former president
let me follow up, Mr. Secretary.
attacked the United States Capitol for the purpose of overthrowing the election and very nearly succeeded in preventing the peaceful transfer of power. But I think common sense can tell the difference.
Okay, first I have to stipulate, I'm not saying I watch a lot of Fox News, I certainly don't, but I've literally never seen that person interviewing Pete Buttigieg in my entire life. I'm not sure that's a real person.
I have never seen that person before either, and everyone knows that Pete loves going on Fox, right? He gets this pleasure out of it because, he's really good at doing Fox, and he's a competitive guy and it really gets to him. So it's if you're gonna have him on Fox, come at him with maybe a little better talent than that. Chris Wallace would never have let him get away with that,
We all agree that Pete is excellent at being on Fox. Why is he better than other Democrats?
Tone-wise, I think he does well with the audience because he's not a yelly, screamy Democrat. He's someone who I think their audience can listen to. He sounds reasonable, even if he's saying things that they might not necessarily agree with. If you can master the art of communicating on Fox News, it can have this huge amplifying effect and get your message out much wider than that. And just like with that clip we saw there, I don't know how many people were watching Fox News Sunday that day. I know that clip has now gotten over 10 million at least views on Twitter and has been picked up in news outlets online and across the country and on other TV stations. You gotta think of it as reaching a broader audience, only if you can do it well.
All right, people, believe it or not, this is the 50th episode of Political Analysts React. You say yes to something in the heart of the pandemic, when you're stuck in your house, you don't have a lot to do, possibly a huge error on my part. But I do want to thank our producers who convinced me to do this and have supported me throughout it. I want to thank all of the people who've been making these ads, all of our guests. I specifically want to thank the Republican ad makers whose brains have been pickled by Fox News for giving us such great content over the years. And I really want to thank all of you, those of you who've smashed the subscribe button, those of you who are going to smash the subscribe button, those who've left the comments. This has been a surprisingly enjoyable experience to go down this YouTube wormhole with all of you. Thank you so much. And also, as you know, smash the subscribe button. Our next guest is progressive commentator Brian Tyler Cohen.
They just keep rising and rising. Corporate profits, that is. No wonder prices are going up too. Corporations are bragging about how they're making bank by raising our prices. But when Democrats passed the historic Inflation Reduction Act to lower prices and fund our futures, every single Republican voted against it. What does the GOP even stand for anymore? Gouging our prices. Vote for leaders who tackle our problems. Vote for Democrats.
What do you think of this one?
I love this one because for some reason, even though fighting corporate greed is an issue that's as popular as puppies, Democrats are often too afraid to take it on. We've got this massive, predatory, evil villain right in front of us, and we still continue to treat them with kid gloves. And we shouldn't because, look, we see their corporate profits. They're public. We just found out a couple days ago that Shell reported quarterly profits of $9.5 billion just this quarter. Republicans are telling these companies that they're on their side and that they're going to run defense for them by scapegoating the Democrats. And that's fucking sick, man. It's sick when corporations hide behind a pandemic to price gouge Americans, but it's even more sick when a political party that's elected to protect those Americans, aligns themselves with the profiteering corporations because they're more concerned about getting power for themselves and hurting the opposition party, the Democrats, than they are to actually help the people who they were elected to serve.
Yeah, I agree with you. I love this ad. It is exactly what we probably should have been doing for months now, if not years. The Achilles heel of the Republican Party on the economy is that voters think, even some of their voters, working class Republicans, believe that the Republican Party is more likely to shill for corporations than middle and working class people. That is where Democrats have an advantage. They think we fight for the middle, working class, and poor. They think Republicans fight for the rich. Why that's important is it's not about policies, because if it was about policies, we would win. Down the line, higher minimum wage, higher taxes on the wealthy, ACA, all of the issues people choose Democrats, but when you ask them who they trust to manage the economy, they're choosing Republicans. The way to erode that trust is to associate them with greedy corporations, and it is right there for the taking. Politics is storytelling, and you need good guys and bad guys, and they have all kinds of bad guys. Immigrants, black people, labor unions, all of the above, and we have this very obvious, inaccurate one in greedy corporations, and we have not taken advantage of it enough. Some of it's getting better. Hopefully people are following the lead of this ad, but we have not done enough.
And I think something that will help twofold. It's one, running Democrats who actually believe in this issue and can bring it to the forefront by virtue of the fact that it's something they actually believe in, like the Bernie Sanders, like the AOC, like the Stacey Abrams out there. But second, and it's something that you've been outspoken about, that I've been outspoken about, is repetition, and being on message about this point. Bernie Sanders does a great job. It's to the point where it's almost the parody that when anybody talks about Bernie Sanders, like the top 1% of the top 1%. But guess what? Everybody knows it. And repetition works. There's a reason Build the Wall and MAGA and all this bullshit from the right actually sticks. It's because they say it over and over and over again. And it's kind of weird for us to do because if you want to treat people like they're intelligent, which we do, it feels a little bit unnatural to just hammer away by saying the same thing over and over and over again. But at the same time, understand why we're doing this. Understand that repetition works and be a part of it. And so if you've heard it, let yourself hear it again and be appreciative because you know that it's not for you, it's for the next guy. It's for all those people who need to hear something 5, 6, 7 times before they start to associate it with that thing. And so be appreciative of the fact that we finally are starting to understand that repetition actually works. And that's something that we should definitely applaud on the left.
Thanks for watching these ads and videos with us. If you have anything you'd like us to break down, let us know in the comments. See you all next time.